Hello. Now, if you have been following our course, no doubt you realize that devices are becoming smarter and smarter. They're becoming more intelligent. Why? Well, as you know, more and more data is being collected, and these data can be, in many cases, being analyzed and actioned in real time. And therefore, devices can take advantage of this analyzed information and perhaps make some automatic or semi-automatic decisions for humans. So today, I have great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Daniel Chun. In fact, Daniel Chun is one of my ex-colleagues from Deakin University in Australia. Wow, many decades back. And Daniel is, spearheading development and marketing of smart devices and releasing them in Hong Kong and the rest of the world. So it's wonderful to have Daniel to come in. So how are you, Daniel?
Thank you, Eric. It's been a long time, so very pleased to be here today.
Wonderful, thank you. We love to have you. Now, as a first question, I'm going to ask Daniel. Hey, can you please describe the smart product that you brought in to show us today?
Yes, of course. The smart device that we developed and we would like to introduce to the market, in fact, global market, is a smart air conditioner controller. Now, in the past, we all understood that the air conditioning controllers in our home is actually controlled either by a thermostat or by a kind of a handheld remote. Yeah. So the handheld remote typically transmit using something called infrared codes. And the company that I work for actually has been in this business for 25 years. So uh, we've seen the past, we've also seen the future, and how is it all coming. And I definitely think that, and I agree with you that data, cloud technology, and also perhaps even some intelligence have to be built into all these everyday items.
Okay, wonderful. He's going to show us a little bit more detail about this device.
So we were talking about smart devices. So this is something that we manufactured 25 years ago. It's considered smart at during those time. It actually controls TV, VCRs, and cable TV. But because of the memory size, you can only hold so many basically IR codes in there, right? But today, people
And it's also pre-programmed, not easy to change.
pre-program. You cannot change those already in there. So nowadays, customers want more brand. They want more devices to be able to control, but at the same time, they want the user friendliness, right? So people now use basically a mobile phone, and they can actually program the codes into it. So it's like from the cloud, and then programmed into the device, right? So and then as we move along, the last couple of years, all our customers and the market has come back and says that, well, we no longer only just want to control the TVs and the cable TV box and all that. I want to be able to control the environment that we live in, right? Save some energy perhaps. So sensors become very important. So nowadays they put sensor in it and also control. So the sensors collect the temperature data, humidity data. It sends back to the system, and then the system can analyze it, right? So this is
So
something
data and control becoming a two-way traffic.
absolutely. So the next generation we talk about is the because of the mobile computing and mobile phones, smartphones and tablets, right? The availability of internet and also Bluetooth become more available. So we've made a Bluetooth enabled device, and it'll be able to not only collect the same data, temperature data, humidity data, but also to be able to report it back and to mine those data. That's the important part.
Right. And I see that you have a smartphone here. Can you use remote devices to control them?
Oh yes. So the smartphone becomes the provide the device that actually helps to compute and for user to be able to interact. Because obviously you want to set your own preference. You want to be able to use some intelligence, artificial intelligence into it, right? So the computing platform becomes basically your mobile
Right.
phone.
So may I assume that using a smartphone or a tablet, you can actually control any particular device, a group of device, or all the devices in a particular system.
Yes, so from personal home network kind of consideration up to perhaps a neighborhood and then perhaps to a city.
Wow, that's very powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for showing us. Now, Daniel, as a second question, let's explore this word about smart or smartness. What exactly is the smartness, as you called, that is being embedded in this product?
Right. Yeah. In the past, most of these so-called devices, generally they have some computing power. Yeah. In the past, obviously, we talk about microchip sets, and we've seen the era from computer down to big size computer to something that we can hold on to palm size, just like a phone, right? So these devices now have also gone through the same stage with powerful chipsets, better memory, and perhaps now what we talk about is the Internet of Things, where it's connected to the wireless home network, your mobile network. So we believe the smartness come from a couple of things: computing power and also connectivity.
Well, I suppose it's also the integration of the data, and therefore the device can analyze a lot, the higher volume of data in real time,
Yes.
and from there, if you can, how does it actually generate the smart decisions
Yeah.
after analyzing the
So,
data?
so the devices used to be mostly we call it huge human interaction, right? So used to interact and produce that kind of a command, right? Press this
Decisions.
button, press that, make that decision,
Exactly.
right? But now, obviously, with computing power, and especially if the device is connected, it means that they can actually pre-program based on supposedly some kind of rule, right? That rule could be generated first by human. Second, it could be computer generated, or it could
Wow.
be even learned, right? So it could be learning from our normal behavior, for example. So I think this is something that is, actually your expertise, which is in artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning as well, right?
So you're saying that, in fact, if the machine start to detect that nearly all the time I like to set my room temperature to be about 23 or 24 degrees, it will actually adapt to that setting as well gradually. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah. This kind of logic it's absolutely, you're right. It's built in. Um, uh, Typically, we would like to have some kind of comfort level when we are actually active in the room, right? But the system, the air conditioning system, our ambient temperature are normally adjusted only when you give them instructions. So the smart way is to understand your personal profiles, the number of peoples in the environment, and also perhaps even there are environmental factors such as whether your that side of the house or the room are actually facing the sun during
Yes.
sunset or during sunrise, etc. So there are some environmental factors that can, from data, from the spatial data, kind of geographical GIS, geographical information system, they can also fit into it. Now, this is where I see the future coming along.
Wonderful. Now, obviously, we can immediately think of enormous potential in applying this in homes and in businesses. Are there other, more, I suppose, innovative applications
Uh,
that you have deployed
uh,
in homes and schools and the businesses?
yeah, absolutely. Let me give you some examples so it's kind of easier to understand. Um, for one thing, for every human, Harvard Medical Research actually have reported that our body temperature during deep sleep actually drops up to 2 degrees Fahrenheit. So when our body temperature drops, we actually don't need the kind of indoor climate to be as cold. But whereas a lot of the times, if you think about how a thermostat or air conditionings are being preset, they're very preset to specifically commands that you actually understood, right? So, in theory, if there is a way to actually understand when are you actually going into a deep sleep cycle, and your body temperature now drops down, and perhaps this data can be shared to the system that controls the air conditioner, right? That way, we can actually raise the temperature of the air conditioner just maybe 1 degree, yeah, and then you won't feel as cold, and you actually save energy,
Yes,
right?
and give us, suppose, a higher chance of staying healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. So saving energy is one agenda, but I think comfort is still one other big agenda, right? So, in cases where you have a lot more people coming into the room, then you would like to have the intelligence. You would like the device to be able to detect that intelligence, meaning there should be sensors. Now we talk about sensor giving that kind of not just the ability to control, but ability to collect data from the environment and interpret it and feed back to the system to make that decision for you, right? So this is where it kind of loop back the information, the data, and eventually these data will become part of the behavior of a family, of a home, maybe for a district, or maybe for that city, at a higher level.
Wonderful. In fact, you have pretty much answered my next question, which is, in a long term, in a much grander scale, how will these systems contribute to the society? But
Yeah.
I think you've answered it very well.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
So I see. To supplement that, bigger scale, because just imagine that each suburb, if everybody use pretty much the same way to control their living environment, right? There are data being collected. Once the data being collected, it could be analyzed, right? So it becomes a not just a home network, but it becomes the suburb, the division, and then perhaps it formulates enough data to become part of the neighborhood, bigger community, right? Now all these can help to make the decision. Perhaps from a planning perspective, I'll give you an example. The grid, the power grid that supplies the electricity, they could actually design different tariff plan to incentivize savings, for example. So this will overall also creates impact for our environment, because people are a little bit more conscious that, okay, well, I'm actually using more electricity, right? So all these data can become part of a bigger plan of a city, for example.
Exactly. I can see that they can spawn off new innovative business model. They can help to the environment to sustain and lower costs, and of course as you said earlier, ensure that people stay more healthy, or healthier throughout. So wonderful answers, and thank you for your generosity in sharing your knowledge with us, and thank you for
It's
coming
my
in today.
pleasure. Thank you, Eric.